week 8 of the fantasy football season. And here's a few running backs I looked at off the wire this week. The first guy, Henderson of the Los Angeles Rams. So the Rams, a bunch of injuries at the running back position. Kyron Williams, he's out for 4 weeks minimum, going on IR with the ankle. Ronnie Rivers out 4 to 5 weeks with the knee. And then they signed Myles Gaskin, Darrell Henderson, and called up Royce Freeman off the practice squad. So Henderson obviously ran for many seasons, and then this year he wasn't anywhere. But in his debut, 18 carries, 61 yards, a touchdown, a catch for 5 yards. So obviously McVay likes Darrell Henderson. He likes his pass protection, and he's a good receiver out of the backfield compared to a Myles Gaskin or a Royce Freeman. So right now, Henderson out there in tons of fantasy leagues, 76%. I know you don't have a great matchup in Week 8 at Dallas, but if they're coming off a tough loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think they're going to want to run the football a little bit more. I think they want to be a little bit safe on some of the throws here, especially versus solid Dallas defensive line and pass rush. And Darrell Henderson, he's still a physical running back, and he knows the playbook. I know last season he didn't do much, and they cut him loose mid-year. Is this Ram team. But right now, with a lot of guys down and Henderson, the veteran, like I said, knowing this offense, I give him a pickup this week. The next pickup's Ezekiel Elliott of the New England Patriots. So Elliott has been decent over the last few weeks. And like I said in a couple videos last week, he looks quicker. He's got more burst. He got in better shape this offseason as Elliott. And the last 2 games it's paid off. Week 6 at Vegas, 7 carries, 34 yards, a touchdown, a catch, 15 yards. In Week 7 versus Buffalo, 11 carries, 31 yards, and a touchdown. So right here, decent matchup in Week 8 in Miami. They do give up the 15th most fantasy points to running backs on the season, even though it's going to be a game where Miami's up early and often, and we know Zeke, he don't do much in the passing game. But right now, if you need a backup and some depth on your roster or in a pinch for a flex option, he's available right now, 54% of fantasy leagues. The next guy is Amari DiMercido of the Arizona Cardinals. So right now, last week it was Keontae Ingram who was the man in the backfield, but he didn't get any carries in the Week 7 game at the Seattle Seahawks. So DiMercido got the touches, 13 carries, 58 yards, 4 catches, 17 yards. So right now it looks like this Cardinal team, obviously it's a youth movement. They're 1-6 on the season, and it's time to see what these younger guys could do. So DiMercido, most teams did drop him in 47% of fantasy leagues from last week into this week, but he went out there and had a decent game in PPR points, 11.50 in these leagues. So right now, not the greatest of matchups Week 8 versus the Baltimore Ravens, but he's actually a running back that can catch the football out of the backfield. He's got some speed, and he's got a chip on his shoulder as well, a low draft pick in the NFL draft. So right now, this Cardinal team, it's been a mess all season, 1-6. Kyler Murray possibly could be back any week now for this Cardinal team, even though I don't know what's the rush to bring him back. Obviously, you want to get a better draft pick now with this Cardinal team that they obviously won't go anywhere in terms of making the playoffs or anything. So right now, playing the youngster and James Conner, he'll be out 2 more weeks. So right now, DiMercido, while he's out there in tons of fantasy leagues here in 86%, he's a running back to add this week. The next back's Pierre Strong of the Cleveland Browns. To Jerome Ford, he left with an ankle injury, and we got to see through the week how serious it's going to be. So obviously Kareem Hunt is the main man over there now. It's going to be for this Cleveland Brown team, being on the Browns the last few seasons, knowing the playbook. But Pierre Strong came in, and he had some decent runs, 8 carries for 25 yards in that victory at the Indianapolis Colts. So right now, Strong available 99% of fantasy leagues. He was a guy that the New England Patriots were high on for a couple seasons, but he really never saw the field, and they traded him before the season started here to the Cleveland Browns. So right now, next man up over there in Cleveland, Strong's going to get carries, Kareem Hunt's going to get carries if Ford is out. And right now, I don't think Strong could be a huge payoff for fantasy owners, but if you need a running back and a guy who's going to get some touches and make some plays here, he's available, like I said, in 99% of fantasy leagues. And the 5th and final running back I look to get off the wire here is Joshua Kelly of the Los Angeles Chargers. I know Kelly, he didn't do much in the games he started over the last few weeks before Eckler came back in Week 6's ball game. Off the game for a little at the Kansas City Chiefs is Eckler, and then he came back, but he only finished Eckler 14 carries, 45 yards, a catch for 1 yard. So far, tough season for Eckler, not doing much. And Kelly, we saw him break off that huge run in that game at the Kansas City Chiefs and carry 75 yards and a touchdown. So we know he's the backup over there. But if you want to use him as a handcuff or a lottery ticket type of deal, he is Kelly. Even though, like I mentioned, the games he started, he didn't do much for fantasy owners or this Charger team. You can available right now is Kelly in tons of fantasy leagues here at 79%. So that's a few running backs I look to add for Week 8 of the fantasy football season.